Today we have Mr. Sandeep Singhal with us, and this is a pretty lengthy introduction, so please brace yourselves. He is the co-founder and managing partner at Westridge Capital, a global investment firm, and previously part of founding team of Sequoia Capital India. Along with Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand, he had established Westbridge Anand Chess Academy, which had mentored several of the country's top talents, including recently world champion Gukesh. Through his family foundation, he has also been involved in the establishment of Ashoka University, Laksha University, and also a founding member of IIM Ahmedabad and IIT Delhi Endowment Fund. He has a BTech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Delhi, MS in Chemical Engineering from University of Illinois, and he came back and graduated with a distinction in MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. Over the last 2 decades, he had led investments in several companies, which a lot of you have heard of, being Indigo, Rapido, Dr. Lal's, PhysicsWala, Vedantu, Tutor Vista, Shobha Developers, Havels, Meesho, HDFC, ICICI, Bajaj, Third Wave, in about a total of 170 companies, and served on the board of about 25 private and public companies. And he's also a governing board member of National Council of Applied Economic Research. On his website, it says, and he says it, that the next 20 years are going to be the best years in the history of India. This happens in a country only once, and we are very aware of that, and we want to seize the moment. We are here to hear Mr. Singhal share why he says that and reflect on his personal and professional journey, why he chose to come back to India, what guided his investments, and his own thoughts on how to think about long-term decision making and investing. But not only in businesses, but also in careers and oneself. Can we have a round of applause?
Good morning. I don't know what to tell you that you already don't know, but anyway, I'll try. By the way, my daughter went to new school in the very beginning when we went just started. Kavita was running a few schools, and then it became many schools. I was just talking to her while I was coming in, and she was super excited that I'll be here. So this is not going to be a very serious talk. This is hopefully going to be just sharing some top of the mind things that I have. It's not very structured. It's sort of random, and it'll be blabbering a little bit. Not really a structured sort of thought that you have to absorb. Just sort of let it pass your brain, and something will stick. Just a few slides, and please keep it interactive. If you have any question, any brainwave at any point of time, you can raise your hand and pipe in.
We'll let them ask questions after.
Okay, after. That's good.
Otherwise, we'll
We'll
be derailed.
We'll be there. Do you recognize this picture? Anyone? What is it? Anyone? Yeah, sure? Yes, the hare and the tortoise story. So, believe it or not, life is like a hare and a tortoise story. As you go about your daily lives, you will see a lot of hare running by you, and that will make you anxious, and you'll feel like, wait a minute, what's happening to me? I'm not getting that grade, I'm not on that team, or this or that or whatever. Don't worry about that. It's a very long race. You have a lot of time. As long as you direct yourself and keep going in the direction and keep moving, you are likely to win the race. And I can vouch for that. Next slide. You know, the other thing that I have faced in my life very often, which I'm sure you face too, which is, what do you do? Should you do many things? A lot of different things, do a little bit of sport, a little bit of music, a little bit of academics, or should you sort of become a world chess champion? And some of you will do one, some of you will do second, some of you will do one and maybe a little bit of second, and that's all fine. Only recognize that when you are approaching decisions in your life, there will be trade-offs. And learning how to trade off is another big lesson that I learned in my life. Like, for example, if you like something and you want to spend a lot of time on it, it's likely going to result in you spending less time on something else, and be comfortable with that. So when you do really well at something, by corollary, it's possible that and by I don't mean well in terms of grades or this or that or whatever, when you're absorbing yourself deeply into something, there'll be a trade-off. You may be doing not as well or not spending as much time on something else, and become more and more comfortable with that. The world will push you to be good at everything, but know in your mind that's okay. You can, for now, to get into a college, you can try and do all that. But in general, in life, be aware of trade-offs, that whenever you choose to do something and you want to do it deeply, it's okay for you not to do that well in many other things. Next slide. Have you heard of, does this remind you, and this is a bamboo tree. Does anyone know anything about a bamboo tree? How does a bamboo tree grow? Someone said shoots off? Yeah, can you say more about it? Yeah, yeah. So a bamboo tree for a long period of time doesn't grow. So if you look at it, it looks like it's at that height. But what's happening is it's preparing itself under the ground. It's working, it's building its roots, it's doing things that strengthen it and makes it ready. And then suddenly you look at it, in 2 months, it would have shot by 40 feet. And that's what happens in life. Many times things that you're doing, you don't see the results, no one else sees it. You're practicing your piano, or you're doing whatever else that you like to do, or studying physics. To the world, it's not apparent, and even to you sometimes, that you may be ready to shoot up one day. And then suddenly things come together, and you don't realize in some small period of time, all of the work that you did suddenly shows up. So be ready and okay with long periods of time when what you're doing is not obviously showing to the world or to yourself progress. Yeah, that's something that I observed in my own life. Next slide. The best investment in life that you can make is in yourself. And that could mean investing in your health, that could mean investing in an avocation, anything. Really, the best investments in life are in yourself, to sort of develop yourself. Not in a maniacal way, but like in a fun way. Whatever interests you. Actually, it really doesn't matter what. Whatever interests you, absorb yourself in it, and that investment will give you great results. Something that I may touch upon a little bit later. Next slide. This is a Panchtantra story. Does this remind anyone or anything? Anyone has heard this Panchtantra story? You would have, but the picture sometimes doesn't make it easy for you to recognize. This is a story about 4 friends. So the second best investment you can make in life is in your friends. You may not realize that why is it helpful, when will it be helpful, but you will realize as you go through life, your life is a team game. You may think it's only you participating in that game, but in reality, there are many other people on that team. And this story, I won't go into detail, basically talks about how these 4 friends, when they get into trouble, how the unique strength of each of them comes into play to get them out of trouble. And it's none of them is the smartest, none of them is the strongest, each one has their unique strength. So in life, when you have friends and multiple friends, you can, and by friends I just don't only mean your friends here, but I mean friends in the world. It could be an uncle who's your friend. It could be someone that you relate to. Your mother could be your friend. So who's on your team? Who are the people who bring different kinds of abilities and perspective to your life? So second best investment in life is invest in your friends. Next slide. Fall in love with something. I fell in love with playing basketball. In fact, for 10 years of my life, that's all I did. I remember 3 or 4 hours a day practically. So much so that it cost me a lot in many other things. But some of the life's greatest lessons I learned on basketball court. How to collaborate, how to compete, how to control your aggression. You can't have an aggression that is uncontrolled. and you need controlled aggression to achieve things in life. I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about fall in love with something and do a lot of it. Because when you do a lot of something, it teaches you many things that, doing a little of everything won't. Next slide. If you can, develop a sense of wonder. Does anyone know in the galaxy we live in, what is it called? Does anyone know how many stars it has? Roughly, how many? A few hundred billion. A few hundred billion stars in just our galaxy. Okay? Do you know how many galaxies there are? A few trillion. Like the mind boggles, right? A few trillion. A few billion stars in our galaxy. A few trillion galaxies. And all of this is a very small part of the universe. This, a few hundred billion stars, a few trillion galaxies, each galaxy that we spoke about. Like if you take just a coin and put it on the sky and just make a circle around that coin, just in that circle there are 10,000 galaxies like ours. 10,000 galaxies. The point is not details of this. The point is wonder. The most beautiful gift of life is wonder. Thinking about what is all this? What is existence? It can. This is not an activity which is linked to how will it benefit you, but it's a great gift of life to wonder. In fact, on the next slide, let me show you something. Does anyone know what this slide is about? This little circle, that little dot.
Voyager 1.
Yeah? Who said Voyager 1? So say more about it.
I think it's a famous photo that Voyager 1 took from Neptune, and it's called the pale blue dot.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just going to add to I'm going to add to what he just said. So Carl Sagan, the famous cosmologist, at the last minute when Voyager, which was going out to the universe to explore the universe, he requested them that when Voyager is passing by Saturn, same thing as Neptune, don't worry about that, ask it to turn around and just take a picture of Earth. So this is a picture of Earth, that little blue pale dot from Saturn. Now think about the universe that we just spoke about, which is our galaxy has 200 billion stars or more. And within our solar system, just one star, within our solar system, we are still in our solar system. This is what Earth looks like. So everything that happens around you, all the heroes, all the kings, all the villains, all the sports stars, all the movie stars, everything that has ever happened has happened on this little dot. Imagine the expanse of the universe. So develop a sense of wonder. In fact, that one thing probably is equal to everything else you do in life. If you miss a sense of wonder, you're missing something big of what humans are gifted with. Next slide. If you can, and you will, since you live in India, ask yourself some spiritual questions. Not religious, spiritual. This is from Gita, just two lines I picked. That in all of us here, it's the same reality that dwells. We may not recognize it, but Kabir said it in another way that, all of us, he said, but for those of you who may not speak as much Hindi, he said, Bhande mein hi bhed hai, pani sab mein hi, which is we are all vessels having the same water. A lot of it lies around India like common dust, this kind of spiritual wisdom, but it's something that, and maybe sometimes when you're this young, you don't need to sort of think about it, but as life goes on, you'll be pulled towards it, and it's worthwhile exercise to ask existential questions. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to spend only 2 or 3 slides on what we really do, which is investing. Over all these years, the companies that were mentioned in my introduction, one thing I realized early that some companies are in very large markets, and I only wanted to invest in large markets. What are those companies? Those are companies that every household needs. What kind of company every household needs? If you think about a Rapido, which is basically something I'm sure you guys know, everyone needs transportation. Every member of the household needs transportation. If you think about Star Health, which is a health insurance company, you don't have to worry about it, your parents have to, but every household needs an insurance. India Shelter is a company that gives loans for buying a house. Every house needs, maybe not your parents, but a large number of people in this country need loan to buy their house. Your parents, again, not for you, but Funds India is a company which helps invest house surplus. Every household has some surplus. You want to invest it to make more money. That's what Funds India does. KPN Fresh sells fresh vegetables. Rapidly growing. We have 250 stores growing at 100% a year. Every household needs fresh goods. Third Wave Coffee, I assume you guys know, all of us need a cup of coffee. Everyone in your household needs a cup of coffee. With your friends need a cup of coffee. With your colleagues need a cup of coffee. Physics Wala, you probably know, some of you, those who are in that grade. But this is for masses, helping the masses learn various subjects at a very low cost. Misho is an e-commerce company. And Health and Improvements are companies where you can do your diagnostic tests and buy your medicines the cheapest. There are a few common threads in these companies. There is this room which forms the top 1% of India, maybe 0.1%. Your families, myself, Kavita, we all come from top 0.1% of the family. But there is, if you take out the top 1, 2, 3%, there is the bottom 97%. All of our companies are largely focused on them. So we want to bring them the cheapest. Indigo Airlines is not there. We want to bring them the cheapest travel. We want to bring them the cheapest fruits and vegetables. We want to bring them the cheapest way to buy insurance. We want to give them education at the cheapest price. We want to give them apparel at the cheapest price. So we are focused on the bottom 97%. One of the reasons is that the market, even though they all spend small amounts, the markets are very large. Next slide. This is what we follow at Westbridge. And some of you may not relate to it today because you're not buying company stocks or shares. Basically says that if you aren't willing to own a stock or let's say any company for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. What that means is that in investing, some people have this methodology of investing in a company and then saying 2 years later I'll get out. Our philosophy is if you're not interested in for 10 years, then don't waste your time. And you can apply this to your life as well. When you pick things, do them for a long period of time because the cumulative returns of compounding that you may have heard from other people are very dramatic. I think something that was said, the next few decades belong to India in a major way. If you candidly ask me, I'm jealous of all of you. I was born, I'm maybe 50 years or maybe 40 years older than you guys. The first 30 years from when I was born, India was sort of, lost. We had an economic system which wasn't growing. It's only in the last 20 years I've had the joy of seeing India growing. But the best years of India in 1,000 years are the next 2 or 3 decades. So I wish I was like you, going to school now, graduating now, because I'll be coming into an India which is going to be full of opportunities. You're going to see the country transform in many, many different ways. So please, keep that in mind as you make your life decisions. I think it's probably the last slide. Just a few lines from poet. You may Google and read the full poem, but I'll just leave it here. Thank you very much.
So kids, we are going to warm it up with our questions and we'll keep it going. We have enough to ask him. But after a couple of questions, if you have whatever questions you have, put your hands up. Is someone handling the mic for the kids? Uh, some people will have to handle the mics to the kids so that everybody's got a chance to talk. Okay.
Mr. Sandeep, so our students that are sitting here are from grade 9 to 12. They will be making some major decisions about where they study, where they want to go. Coming to you, you have studied in IIT, you studied in IIM and then in MS. You were a pretty meritorious student. So, I mean, there were many opportunities at that time. What made you want to come back to India? What did you see in India? Maybe you can start with that.
Okay, one correction, I was not a meritorious student, I was somewhere in the middle always, hung in the middle somewhere, and in the final lap, I picked speed, so somehow I cleared. You don't have to be meritorious or at the top, being in the middle and being in the back. Many times I was in the back too, by the way. When I was in class 9, okay, I'm going to share this with you. I can't share it publicly, but I can share it with you. In class 9, I think I was 31 out of 40. In those days, you used to get grade by whatever. Because, like I told you earlier, I was so in love with playing basketball that I just couldn't think of anything else. I was barely keeping up with academics. But when time showed up in class 11th and 12th, suddenly my attention went there. And then in those 1 or 2 years, I learned what I couldn't have learned in 4 or 5 years. So you don't, if you're at the top and you're meritorious, great. If you're not, don't worry about it. Your time will come. People flower at various times in life, and wait for your time. On the question of how to make a choice of where to make your career, is that the question?
Maybe you can share a little bit before that of your IIT story. Everybody's heard of IIT? How many of you have IITians as parents? Plenty. And many more who would want to be IITian parents, right? Big moment of pride, right? This is an interesting story.
Which one? There are many.
IIT admission.
Oh my God.
IIT admission. You know what a big deal we make out of the IIT admission today? Let's hear that one before you.
Okay, first of all, I should tell you that when I went to college, the competition was much lesser. The reason was that 98% of India hadn't heard of IIT. They lived in park towns, villages, they didn't have access to good schools. So the only people who were competing were people living in big cities, which is very different today. Everyone from India is competing, so it's much harder. But in my time, given my general academic background earlier, and sort of, my family's expectations, I had managed well. Like, I never gave them this feeling that something great is going to happen. So I took the IIT exam, and I went to see the result that day with a friend of mine sitting in the back of a scooter. And no one in my family thought that there was some get-together of relatives in the evening. No one thought, okay, he's going somewhere, he'll come back. They knew that was the IIT exam result. I went to the institute, the big gate at IIT Delhi. You go and there's a big seminar hall with big pillars, and on one of the notice boards there are names written. So I went in there with my friend, my closest friend, still my closest friend. I just got a message from him last night. Sitting on the pillion of the scooter. And I looked at the list. I wasn't expecting anything. I saw my name there. Like, what just happened? Okay. So I gasped, absorbed, still dazed, sat back on the scooter. My friend was overjoyed, just jumping up and down. I was like, what's going on? I came back out of the main gate. I'm going to ask him to stop. I said, listen, I don't want to be embarrassed. Let's go back and look at it again. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I written someone else's roll number. I don't want to go tell people that I've got through and then find out I haven't. And then after I went, it was indeed there. I went back home. No one asked me. No one asked me what happened. Because there was no expectation. They didn't believe that anything like that will happen. But the point of it is this, that actually if I hadn't gone to IIT, nothing would have happened. I would have still come down this path. Sometimes we tend to confuse college degrees, college names, and so on and so forth with sort of success. Don't worry about that. Work hard when you need to. Do it with positive excitement. Take what comes your way, and like I said, you flower at various points of time in life. And it's okay for you to keep the world's expectation low from you, that they don't mount too much pressure on yourself. I don't know if that story helps, Kavita.
The other bit of the story that I'd heard in the past from your parents was that when you came home to tell them this, there was someone for dinner. And so they said, and he came in running to say, I've got admission. And his parents were like, it's okay, come on, we are doing dinner. And the next morning they woke up and they said, Acha,
What happened?
kal tum kuch bol rahe the. Yesterday you were saying something. And that's when he announced to them that he got into
I
IIT.
think basically the
And
message
they were
is
like, okay, it's fine, not a big deal.
keep your parents' expectation low. Otherwise they're going to ask you all kinds of questions. But underwater, you have to be like a duck. Above water, be calm, keep everything. Underwater, paddle like crazy, if you can.
Paddle
But
like a duck.
on the question of, look, it's not even a contest. If you want the best out of your career, the next 3 decades are in India. You can go to your education anywhere you want. That doesn't matter because that's okay. The best decision I ever made in life, and I made it when India wasn't even shining. In fact, it was and I know Kavita did something similar, Manish did something similar. We all came back in times when India was, like every year I used to tell me, what is this country? I want to go back in a few years. I can't live here, there's no economic activity, there's no energy, there's no nothing. You are graduating at a time when you are at the cusp of an explosion of things in India. So there's no doubt, I can do the analysis, I can just give you the answer, that next 3 decades are about glory here. If you seek glory, if you seek wealth, if you seek glory, with or without wealth, it's all going to be in India at a level which is very different than if you were elsewhere. Elsewhere you live a comfortable life, but if you want glory and big success, then I think India is a platform.
So, ab ki baari, hamari baari
Ah,
is what it is.
Yeah.
But would you share the story of what happened? You as IIT, Delhi, IIM Ahmedabad, the Indian dream of middle class parents, then take a job, HUL, Hindustan Unilevers, then you walk away from that and go do a consulting gig for a couple of years. Why did you come back to India? What made you come back to India? Because you made that reverse journey very fast. It is not that, you didn't wait 10 years to be in consulting and then arrive at a top position. You just made that decision, in a couple of years?
Literally, pretty much, very early.
You got
early.
there and you decided to come back.
Yeah, my main reason was not making a career. My main reason was family. My mother's health was not good. And she had done so much for me in her life that I felt like, it's almost like when I left from India and I came back after 1 year for vacation, I could see her eyes were vacant. She was, like, I could see that she's probably embracing with a lifetime of loss. Because, when you're so far away, you're there, but you're really not there. So I basically came back when mom's health wasn't good and I just couldn't afford mentally to be at peace when that was happening. But in hindsight, if it was the best economic decision I made, and it was not just me, there were 4 or 5 people who came back with me from IIT who had gone. All 5 of them have done dramatically better than those who were left behind. And I think the main reason for that is that our efforts either get amplified or get deaccelerated by the market we are in. India is a market where today, if you put this much effort, it gets multiplied by 5x. Other parts of the globe, particularly US, Europe, are markets where you put this much, your effort actually reduces to a lower. It's like, maybe another analogy to give is, let's say you are swimming, and you're swimming in a river that is flowing at 1 kilometer per hour, versus you're swimming in a river that's flowing at 7 kilometers an hour. Just think about 10 hours later, where are you at the same speed at which you are swimming? Where are you likely to go much farther? So that 7% in India is India's GDP growth. You're swimming in a river that's flowing at 7 kilometers an hour, and that 1% GDP growth is the rest of the world's GDP growth for the developed markets, where you're swimming in a river that's flowing at 1 kilometer an hour. So let the wind or let the water aid your flow. Be back here, doesn't matter where you go, just where you graduate.
You did mention that back when you came back to India, the situation was different, the economy was different, the pace at which things would accelerate or amplify were very less. So one of the questions that we wanted to ask is with respect to long-term thinking. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the climate that you found yourself in, and why is it that you would specifically choose to invest in companies of mass prosperity? Something, as you mentioned, is more about the households, most of these using households.
The short term versus the long term.
So I'll tell you, long-term thinking I've only developed in the last 10 or 15 years. You can develop it now, you'll benefit from it immensely. Till I was like maybe 40, I was mostly doing things that interested me at that point of time. And I would do something that's with 2-year time frame and so on and so forth. But after 10 or 15 years of my career and 40 years of my life, I figured that I can only do a few things. And if I did those few things with very long-term mindset, then the results are dramatic. You know, so I developed this only in the last 10 or 15 years. And where could I deploy myself with that long-term thinking in India? Investing, which may or may not be of interest to you guys today, because investing is not something I need to worry about today, maybe 10 years later. But the reason I chose mass market for India is that it's an infinite ocean. There are 1.5 billion people. If I decide to provide a motorcycle for people to sit on the back of in Rapido, to get 1.5 billion people on the back of this motorcycle, I have a lot of time. I can keep growing. Today Rapido does 6 million rides a day. 2 years ago they did 1.5 million rides a day. Right? 6 million people sit on the back of a motorcycle today and will go from place A to B. But there are 1.5 billion people in India. So that company can keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. One day it'll have 100 million people riding, one day it'll have 200 million people riding. So I made this effort once to set up this business, to be a shareholder in this business. I can reap its reward for 20, 30, 40 years. It's like you dig a well, and you take a chair and sit by the side and look at the stars and wonder, and the well gives you water for a long period of time. So when you think about something from a long-term perspective, you have to choose also areas where there are long-term gains. And again, we're talking about India. India is that place today. India will grow at 6 to 7% for the next 30 years. So if you do something in India, just by being here, so you can apply that long-term thinking to India, and if you apply that same long-term thinking to Japan or Europe or US, you'll find yourself that those economies are not only growing slowly, they're going to grow further slowly. So you don't want to, if you think long-term, you will say, I should not make my effort in those economies, and I should double down my effort in India.
Leading to this long-term thinking, I saw you in one of the talks. Your basic idea of investment is that you see a lot of potential and that you want to bring that potential up. And in this regard, could you speak a little bit about Westbridge Anand's Chess Academy and a little bit about Physics Wala? What do you see in that? How do you think it's going to help bring mass prosperity?
I'm going to read from your post on Physics Walas. You don't post a lot.
Very rarely,
And when I saw the post on Physics Walas, I decided to scroll down and see, oh wow, let's read all the other posts, everything that I don't know about Sandeep Singhal right there. But you don't post much, and yet you very actively posted only these two companies, Physics Walas and then Waka. Physics Walas, and he wrote this: no one went from start to 50,000 crores in market value in 5 years. No one did it as frugally, more cash in the bank than money raised, and most importantly, none created the social impact that Physics Wala has. Physics Wala is set to go public, which they are now, at a market cap of more than 30,000 crores. So that, on one side, the big mass market versus Chess Academy, which is clearly not mass market.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about this?
But first of all,
Everyone knows Mukesh, right?
Yeah. Like I said, fall in love with something. It can be anything. Actually, literally does not matter. So the effort at Westbridge Anand Chess Academy, frankly, wasn't to seriously to say, okay, we're going to have a world champion soon. It was just that there were lots of young kids who were playing a lot of chess. The parents were investing behind them a lot. They were coming to a certain level, but they were not making the grade to the Viswanathan Anand world champion level. So we said, okay, what is lacking? What is lacking is that you need a finishing school. Means you take these young, I want to call them kids, young adults, who've got great potential, they become grandmaster at a very young age. What does it take for them to become or have a shot at becoming the best in the world? Small things here and there, you know. You need to learn what is the best way to play an end game. There's a coach in Hungary called Yusupov. He's supposed to be the best coach on end games. By the way, he's twiddling his thumb, sitting idle there. He's available. We can get him to come and teach our kids, our young champions, how to deal with an end game. When you play big matches, sometimes the heart rate goes up so much. It's actually like you're running a marathon because you're in that duel. And how do you manage your emotions? Oh, they need a mental conditioning coach. There's this guy called Paddy Upton, a South African who coaches the Indian cricket team. Then we reach out to him and say, hey Paddy, how about coaching our young chess champions? They face the same sort of challenges when they compete at the top stage. So Waka was it's just one day, this is the other thing. Ideas will come to you that are like around, you just pluck an idea out of thin air. And it could be anything, literally. And then you invest your time, energy, and emotion behind that idea. Our expectation wasn't to get so great results. We thought in 10 years, we'll get one Indian who will be top 10 players in the world consistently. Because we have not had anything like that. Anand was a freak, Viswanathan Anand. He was a world champion, but after that, we've never had an Indian player in top 10. Within 5 years of setting the academy, we had Gukesh winning the world championship. We had Prag, who was in the top 10 in the world. We had, of course, Vaishali, who's one of the top players in the on the women's side. I mean, we just got such a rich reward. The learning for me actually from many of these things, go back to my IIT, this sort of surprise. Like, how did these things happen? This is all luck. Like, suddenly, how did they happen? I think the one common pattern that I can see is, if you're interested in something, just pour your energy in it, and results will follow. Maybe it is like the bamboo example. You just do things that you're interested in. And one day you will find, there's a phrase that says, success will meet you in common hours. Like, you won't even realize that something great happened. So, now Physics Wala on the other side, and I'll give you the history of the guy who founded it, a guy called Alak Pandey. So Alak Pandey had a tough upbringing. His father passed away in class 11. He made some money by teaching class 11th and 12th kids, just running his household, helping his mother pay for groceries and everything. And then he went to an good engineering college, HBTI Kanpur. After the first or the second year, just didn't like it, was so bored, he just left and came back. And he says it in a funny way that no one cared. He never got a letter from the institute saying your kid has gone back. What about him? He said like no one cared. And he came back and he started teaching in a local institute. And then one day he saw YouTube and he said, what about if I try to teach kids on YouTube? And he had no anticipation of what he wanted to do in terms of economic. And he started teaching on YouTube. And one day he started making 20,000 rupees a month. Like after a year or two, 20,000 rupees a month. I'm sure, I think my daughter probably spent 20,000 rupees a month. So we know what 20,000 rupees a month is. 20,000 rupees a month. When he started making on YouTube, he said, oh, maybe I don't need to teach now in physical classes, I'll teach online. And from that, an explosion happened. Now he has 120 million children learning on their channels at the cheapest possible cost. It's literally 4,000 rupees a year. That's like the cost of a book. And for that, for 3 hours a day, you can get best teachers in the country. And I'm not kidding you, best teachers in the country. I mean, not as good as you, but almost there. So This gentleman who had no idea what he could become, he was just pouring his energy into something that he loved. And by the way, this is not a call for you to drop out of college. There's some other people on this stage who have done something similar to achieve greatness. But what that tells you is that, like I said earlier, if I had gone to IIT, it's not like I wouldn't have been successful, you know. He dropped out of college. He's done what he has done. Look at what Kavita has done. What Gukesh did. Someone asked Gukesh, it's a funny question. Someone asked Gukesh in an interview that, you stopped going to school after class 4. Wasn't that risky? Did you think of how risky it is if you didn't make it as a world champion? So he thought and he said, you know what? I should ask this question to my parents because I couldn't have imagined or known what risk is and so on and so forth. So my parents took the risk of. So in life, you will have trade-offs and be comfortable with that. It wouldn't matter what college you went to. It wouldn't matter what brand names you have here. As long as you keep your energy and you focus and pour your heart into things that you like to do. Don't do things generally in life. In school, you'll have to do few because you have to sort of pass some exam. But generally, do things in life that call you, things that you are interested in. And because you're in India today, because our economy is growing, doesn't matter what it is that you're interested in, you will find a way to make a great career. I don't know if that helps.
So switching tracks a little bit, the process of investing, how different that is. You sold your baby to Sequoia and then you bought it back, Westbridge, sold it to Sequoia, bought it back. As a result of that, I saw in your portfolio you have a couple of international companies that you probably inherited in that process. You have this 5,000 crores in the bank that Physics Wala has. Many people talk about how profit is a lack of imagination and all of that, but these guys have 5,000 crores in the bank, not just profit. You also spoke about the scale of the large market impact and then picking this really small chess academy, which is impacting some 20 people, but huge impact for the country. How do you think about this, having seen the world, US, let's say, as a placeholder for that, still the hottest market, 60% of the world GDP or the market value even now. Is it different investing? What is the difference in the process of investing, thinking about success in the US when you're investing versus when you're investing in India, if you could share that?
That's a great question. See, US is a country that's built out. Okay? So the opportunities in US lie in crevices or in some areas in technology and disruption of what exists. India is a country which is going to be built out in the next 30 years. When you graduate, when you go into work life, if a country is going to get built out versus a country that is already built, the kind of investing opportunities that there are very different. In the US, it will be something in the crevice, maybe a juice company that does a juice that's very different than the existing 3 juice companies. In India, a juice company, the main juice company. So the opportunity set here is about going after the big opportunities, set a motorcycle riding company, set an airline, put a grocery chain. In the US, all these things are built out. In Europe, all these things are built out. So in India, when you invest, you shoot for the moon, you take moon shots. In US, when you invest, you sort of, go 30,000 feet up. And that's where you operate. So that's the main difference.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. Now we'll open the floor to the audience. We'll have mics being distributed, so please wait patiently until it comes.
Go ahead, Dhruv.
Yeah, so my question was about I have 2 questions. One is about your investment in Physics Wala, because I remember this when it came up, it was relatively new. So why did you choose to gamble on Physics Wala rather than invest into already established coaching like Alan and Akash? And my second question is about a more contemporary event regarding Indigo. So you said you had invested into Indigo, and considering the mass disruptions that happened, how did you and your investors adapt to the losses that you may have faced or the decline in the stock?
Right. Tough question.
Multiple questions asked in one.
Yeah. No, but very quickly, I think Physics Wala, because one, Physics Wala was focused on the large market which had no options for getting great academic education. So Alan and Akash were teaching people who could pay 70,000 rupees a year. What about if my father can only afford 5,000 rupees a year? And India is, out of 1.5 billion, 1.2 billion people are like that. So very large market, if I'm able to crack that. Second, Physics Wala had the advantage of being a tech company. And a tech company can scale like wildfire, versus companies that have physical centers scale at a slower pace. So, those are the two reasons that we invested in Physics Wala, apart from the charm of the founder Alex Pandey. Indigo Airlines, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, actually, the great example in life. When you do things in life, once in a while, everything is going to look like, oh, what just happened? Like mayhem. There's going to be like some disaster, okay? Like it happens in sports, you know. Suddenly you lose Virat Kohli, one down, it may look like a disaster. And it'll happen to you often in your life, you know, you'll get, I used to tell my daughter in school that if you get a B, it'll be good for your soul. If you get a C, it'll be better for your soul. Because you will learn that in life, you get many B's and many C's. At that point of time, Indigo Airlines got a D, you know, for many different reasons. Should you lose heart? Should you say, oh, wait a minute? No, chill. You know, 1 month is going to pass by. They're going to figure out what went wrong. They're going to solve it, and they're going to be back on track. The stock price went from 6,100 to 4,800. We lost $200 million in that period. Does it matter? No. Why? We haven't sold the stock. Just wait. By the end of the year, the stock price will go to 7,000. So things happen. Something will get messed up. Don't bother. Don't bother. As long as you're doing something that gives you energy, just keep doing it. You know. So we don't worry about the Indigo losses. There are no real losses. We haven't sold any shares. Yeah. Okay. Kabir.
Yeah, two questions. First, you work in investment firms and venture capital. So if you want to get into something like that, then what should you be doing right now? And the second is about AI in its current state. Do you think that it's a bubble fueled by hype, or does it hold long-term investment possibilities?
AI is not a bubble. It absolutely holds long-term investment possibilities. Yeah. AI is not a bubble. AI is here to stay, and AI is going to change the world as we know it. So it's a trend that all of you should spend time knowing more about. What should you do to get into investing? As of now, try to do as well as you can in your school without killing your soul. Okay?
Without using AI? Just be clear.
Use it smartly.
If I catch you.
That's a tough one. But then go to a good college, broaden your horizons. And as you're doing that, you know, dabble a little bit with knowing about what is investing. You know, learn about early days of Warren Buffett, learn about early days of people who are investing, what they did. Try to ask yourself, when you walk into a third wave coffee store, just ask yourself, does this business make money? Why does this business make money? You know, so ask yourself very simple, basic questions, not complicated stuff, and just open your mind to thinking about what is investing. You put in a rupee and you want to get a return on that, and start thinking about that in basic forms. And then, you know, if you just develop that interest, then you'll be ready when the right time comes. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ved. You talked a lot about how you choose to invest in companies, but obviously not every company you invest in will become a rapid or a third wave. How do you know when things haven't worked out and the time to exit?
Yes. A lot of arrows on our back. Half the companies that I've invested in have shut down. Not that they weren't doing well, they shut down. But that's the natural course of investing business, particularly if you're investing in some earlier stage businesses. How do you know? Some things numbers tell you, and some of it is art. You sort of see the pattern, you recognize the patterns. Either something was wrong with the market, or something is wrong with what the company is doing, and you develop this sense over time that okay, this dog is not going to hunt, and it's something that you learn as you spend more years in investing.
And if you have a successful investment like Rapido, you said, how would you know that your investment has like realized its potential and it's time to like move on to something else?
Yeah, the good thing about being in India is that because it's such a long population that needs to be served, most of our investments are today at a place where they have not realized their full potential. In numbers, you will see, you will learn smaller things about the market that at some point will tell you that you're better off taking your money out of here and putting it in something else, both quantitative and qualitative. Yes, I don't know.
Here, right here. She's got a mic. Shania? Okay.
So, I think in the introduction, Sai mentioned you were part of setting up the IMA Endowment Fund. And they recently held a conference, the AID conference, where they've like discussed, I guess, the unique policy that India has regarding CSR funding. So I wanted to ask what your opinion on like this kind of a unique policy is and its effectiveness, because India is the only country in the world to make it a part of like a mandatory framework for corporates. So from that side.
Maybe you could talk about what made you also do those endowments to both institutes and then go on to talk about CSR.
Look, I think that, well, I haven't put it there, but developing a sense of gratitude to whoever has impacted your life positively is a virtue that actually returns to you multifold whatever you give. Whether it's your family or it's the institutions that you went and studied. I'm Ahmedabad, the education at Ahmedabad opened doors for me that allowed me to achieve some of the success that I have is due to them. And then, they're called Alma Mater for a reason. Mater, I think, is for mother. They are like your mother, so like I wanted to contribute back to that institution. And the institute director used to come every few months, every year, saying we need some money for repairing this department, for starting this lab. And then it occurred to me that the right container for those things is an endowment where people give for the long term. And by the way, today evening, I'm digressing, the single largest donation is being made to Ahmedabad of 100 crores by one of the alumni. And I actually have a Zoom call on which she's giving an acceptance speech. Like 100 crores. When we started, we had nothing. I was the first donor. I said I'll give certain amount of money. That's not important here. But I'll go raise money from other people and help set this endowment. So I got 10 people like me. And we set up the endowment with a total of 100 crores 6 years ago. Now that corpus is becoming 1,000 crores. The return from that money is more than the annual profits of Ahmedabad from everything else. So again, it's one of those things, long term. 50 years later, the endowment will be $10 billion. So if you saw, you go around Bangalore, you see these beautiful rain trees. You know why they're there? Because some Britisher in 1920 planted them. So all of us sit under the shades of trees which were planted by someone else. So endowment is like that tree. Someday, a lot of people will sit under it. On CSR, it is very unique and it is wonderful. You sensitize corporates to contribute back to society, and you arm twist them and say, please give 2% of your profit to charitable causes. I think it's a great initiative. It's unique. It doesn't happen anywhere else in India, but I think all the companies that I'm on the board of, it focuses those companies to think about issues that face our society where corporates should be contributing. It's actually one of the most positive contributions of Indian sort of corporate governance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Shreya. Thank you for coming today. My question is, how did you evaluate the potential of the companies that you invested in? What were the exact criteria that you used to evaluate the growth strategies, especially for startups?
Yes. Many things are coming to my mind. I'm wondering where to start. It's like, do you play the card game? What card game do you play? Any card game. So basically investing is like a card game. Initially, let's say you play a game and you get 2 sets of cards, you don't know what the value of those cards is. Over time, you develop an ability to read those cards. You look at those cards, like a card shows up equal to an ace, that this company is operating in a very large market. Every household needs this. That's like an ace. Say, wow, ace of hearts. Let's say another card you see in the company. These founders seem really, really, really good. Not just because of their education. Something about this interaction told me. When I do the background checks, the world says this guy walks on water. Not because of their grades and this and that, but there's something special about them. That's another ace. So like this, every investment when it's coming in, it has got 5 or 6 cards. And I'm evaluating, is this a ace or is this a deuce? So deuce is the other end, right? So if something has high value cards, then you lean forward and say, this is something that I want to invest in. The most important card is the size of the market. The size of the market is very large and it's unattended. Like suddenly I wake up. I don't know if that helps you. Yeah.
Poker player or bridge?
Both. Poker, bridge and chess.
Good one.
All 3 actually. I mean, I don't know if I should be saying it, but we just came back from Colombo. 30 founders, a poker tournament over 3 days.
Wow.
And last week of December, I went to World Chess Championship in Doha. Unfortunately, there my skills are sort of at the low level, so I just stood in the balcony and watched.
Watched Gukesh.
Watched all of them. Gukesh didn't do well at all, and he came out of the hall. He saw me, he wasn't expecting me, and like he felt like, I'm sure he felt disappointed because he wears Westbridge and and he sees me there, and so I didn't know what to say. Okay? I just gave him a hug, but I could see that he was like steaming from inside because he had just lost a game that he was about to win. So, but that's what it is. Life is about winning and losing. That doesn't matter.
One of the most beautiful moments was World Championship. Gukesh, the grace that he showed, and I remember him at our home.
Right.
The humility and the intelligence and the thoughtfulness that he showed as well all the time. I mean, that's a lot to learn from, guys.
Yes, he came.
And he got a B. Life will change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nirma. Nirma, we're reading your question, yeah?
Yeah. What is one investment that you would encourage everyone, even somebody who's not an investor, to make?
Invest in learning a sport or a music instrument.
Or debate.
I mean, I'm just giving you 2 examples. Invest in an avocation, something that is not seriously linked to your academic career.
Hi, I'm Nikhil. I noticed that Westbridge had invested in KPN Fresh, which is very successful in Tamil Nadu. How do you plan to mimic that strategy in other states where the customer mindset may be different or there are other competitors?
So, quietly in the last 1 year, we've opened 50 stores in Bangalore. 50 in Bangalore, 16 in Hyderabad, just getting into Kerala. Are you from Chennai?
Yes.
Yeah. So KPN was a very successful chain. Okay, it's a great story. I'll tell you 1 minute story of KPN. The founder of KPN was a vegetable vendor. Okay, like a guy who used to sell vegetable on his head on a push cart, fruits and vegetables. I asked him, he's now 80 years old, his son took the business. So that gentleman started one store in his life when he was able to get to a place where he had enough money to open one store after a lifetime of work. And then his son came into the business later on and took the 1 to 30 stores. And then he handed it over to us. We have taken from 30 to 300 and we are going from 300 to 3,000. I asked the father that what made you successful? There were so many vegetable vendors. Why did you become what you have become? He gave me this interesting story. He said he used to sell fruits on his head and used to sell it to people when a bus is transiting the city. It'll stop at that station and many fruit vendors will run and they have this fruit basket on their head. So you can see it from the top of the sort of window and so on and so forth. So he said, what I used to do is that when the bus is gone, vendors will be doing their thing, will be chatting, will be doing whatever. He said, I used to sit down and I used to have a cloth and I used to polish my fruits. Because when the bus stood, only thing that people can see from top is how the fruits looked. So he said, I used to have 2 to 3x the sales compared to other vendors. And he brought that same thinking into running KPN stores. Merchandising of fruits for them to look fresh and attractive. So just that one micro or mini small habit made this guy from being a fruit and vegetable vendor to an entrepreneur who owned a large number of stores. So we are at it. It's going to come close to your home very soon. We are going to have 300 stores in Bangalore. We are right now at 50.
Of your 170 investments, how many of the founders come from elite educations? Do you have a measure of that at all?
It's a great
and
mix.
how many of them come from like 12th fail, 4th fail?
It's a great mix. Just like a cricket team. There is a Rinku Singh, or a Yashasvi Jaiswal, who comes from very modest background. Father was a whatever seller. And then there are people like Rahul Dravid who came from, success comes from all kinds of people, Yes, sometimes people who have less have bigger fire, but equally, sometimes when people have all the resources, they have an ability to take bigger risks. So there's no, it's actually a very healthy mix of both.
It's all about where you go,
Yes.
what you do with it.
Absolutely.
Good mindset.
Okay, there's one question in the back. We'll ask 2 or 3 questions. One question in the back.
You spoke a lot about how India is set to see its best years. Why do you think India is set to see its best next 20, 30 years?
Yeah, see, we have to go a little bit back in history. You see, imagine about 1,000 years ago, 1100 AD. Actually, India was one of the most developed economies in the world. We had a university in India called Nalanda, which had 10,000 students. At a point of time when Oxford wasn't even born for another 200 years, Harvard was born 500 years later. We already had one of probably the only real university in the world with all kinds of different courses in science and philosophy and so on and so forth. Now from 1100 AD to 1950 AD, something happened which made India stop in its track, or the people who live here stop in its track. And that was mostly that India was protected by mountains on top and sea on the other side. So the people here internally developed thought, science, ethics at a level which was much different than the rest of the world. But the rest of the world was developing means and ways of crossing the sea or coming through the mountain passes. When they came in from there, they were still at an earlier stage of development. They were more martial. In early stages of a civilization development, you are more martial because might is right, you fight and you have that capability. By the time 1100 AD came, India had become already evolved to a level where we were not martially superior. So when mountains opened up, from Central Asia people came. When seas opened up, the Europeans came. And they all came and, I have to choose the word appropriately, they extracted rent, as economics would say, or you could say exploited what was happening in India and did not invest in developing India. So India became from being very developed to being very underdeveloped. all of your ancestors, if you ask them where were they living in the 50th generation, they'll tell you in a small village. The cities were not occupied by our ancestors. It was only after our independence that now we have 800, 900 years of pent up catching up to do. So the reason next 30, 40 years are great for India is because in these 30, 40 years, India will catch up for all the lost time. You know, lot of India doesn't have, you know, it's like proverbial village with no shoes. You know, we don't have basic goods, services, infrastructure. Go around the city. We need to build metro. We need to build our cities. We need to build our airlines. We need to build our retail system. We need to build. So we need to catch up on those 800, 900 years. And what was the last 50